Okay, it's March. That means it's Women History Month, and we got you covered.
Yes. So this month our theme is Women with a Vision. I feel like, you gotta have a plan, you gotta have a vision, you have to have dreams and goals. And this month, we're featuring two books with women we believe had a vision. So
our first book is going to be Patricia's Vision, the doctor who saved sight.
And it follows the story of Patricia Bath and her early childhood and how she aspired to be a doctor and had a dream, and her experience of seeing a young man when she was a child who was blind and was curious about why he didn't have sight or vision. And the book just takes you through that journey of what she does in her childhood, her fascination with science throughout her childhood, and then later on into her teens, youth, and then into adulthood.
Right. So she also was the inventor and the first African American to have a patent for the LASIK surgery to remove cataract from the eye.
Yes.
So, and I feel like for such a great invention and something that is used and done so often today, she's not known enough.
Yeah, her story needs to be told. So I'm grateful that we came across this book that tells her story in a way that's so enlightening and so motivating and encouraging. If you have a little boy or girl that's interested in science and wants to be a doctor, this is a nice story. This is a nice start probably to introducing a figure, a person who really set the way and laid a foundation for that.
Yeah, I think it's inspirational. I like that it shows a strong female lead, strong character. I see throughout the book, I love throughout the book, you can tell that she was a visionary. And both ways, right? She was a visionary in terms of she had ideas and she never gave up on her dreams, and she always wanted to solve the impossible, what people thought was impossible at the time. So she had that visionary, and then wanting to always restore sight, a passion to want to restore people's sight. I like that. I resonate with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of little quotes, because the book was based off of an interview that was done with the author. So the author included actual quotes that was said by Patricia when coming up with the language and the lines that they were going to use. And it was very intriguing. It was very fun. And I liked the illustrations too. They weren't overdone. It was settled. And it's definitely not the bright, bold colors that you see in other children's books. This one has a more quiet spirit and tone in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the quotes that I like that was mentioned in the book, when it says, I like the idea that she had a desire to give people sight. So for me, that resonated because I felt like, even though in the book, she's talking about vision, I always know I'm always going to think a deeper meaning about giving people sight and giving people vision, and wanted to restore sight in her community. You can tell that she was a humanitarian. She did a lot of social engagement. She came back to give to the community. You could just see her heart in it. She did some work overseas. So I think it's a wonderful book, very inspiring to hear her story. But I resonate with the fact of wanting to give people vision. So even not literally vision, but vision of ideas and thoughts. And I felt like she did that. She expanded the ideas and thoughts beyond what people thought was possible in her time.
Yeah, and she didn't look and say, okay, this cannot be solved, this can't be done. One thing that I liked in the book, there was a quote that the author included. She says, remember that the limits of science are not the limits of your imagination. I was like, yeah, science may tell you can go this far, but your imagination could go even further. And I want to add on, with God, things can go even further. He can do,
things are possible.
Yeah, beyond everything you can even think, act, or imagine. And I felt like this book, even if you want to think about just the aspect of how people view vision and your dreams, her vision was to provide people with sight and vision, and also to restore to people, help people restore things that they thought was once lost. Give them hope again that they will be able to physically see again, but also then tapping into another avenue of letting them know that their life wasn't limited to I'm the person who's blind. Right. Opening up that door again to say, yes, I can see, I have sight. And that's even beyond just the physical manifestation of just having your vision, your basic needs.
Yeah, I agree.
So, would you say that this book is an ACE?
Yes, let's remind them what ACE is. ACE, is it accessible to the reader? Is it easy to read?
Is it culturally relevant and accurately reference the culture that it's representing?
And E, is it engaging, fun, entertaining, lighthearted?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll go first. For Ace, I think that the reading level for a picture book, now we know from reading a lot of picture books that sometimes it's really tricky because you have picture books that have great content, but the reading level is too high. So the reading level for this book, I think, is appropriate for a picture book, kindergarten, first to second grade. I mean, kindergartners can't probably read it on their own, but it's definitely accessible. The language is not too high in the book. There's some medical definitions that can just easily be defined. It's not something that you would that's too difficult to access.
I agree, and I think the print and the font and just the amount of words on the page is very accessible. It's not overdone. The vocabulary is good. Like you said, the few medical terms, but even like the illustration there to support. There's a lot of picture support that helps with the accessibility of the book, which makes it a good, which I would say in this aspect, the A, yes, for acing accessibility, yes.
Yes. Culturally relevant. Now, I am going to say this is no shade to the author, but the book is missing a little cultural relevance. And not in the sense that she is an African-American woman. It's written more as a struggle just of a woman. I felt like it missed a lot of the struggle she had as a Black woman.
Yeah, I felt like towards the end of the book, there was like, oh yeah, she had some problems overcoming, she had some problems with like being equal, seen as an equal among her colleagues and peers, and it does mention like discrimination, but very subtle. If you're looking for a book that speaks to the cultural relevance and issues of the time, this book doesn't highlight that for me.
Right.
It doesn't give me like, even the doctors back then had that struggle. This book is not doing that.
I felt the book highlighted that she had a struggle because she was a woman.
Yes.
But reading it as a Black woman, I'm thinking she had a struggle because she was a woman and she was Black.
Yes.
And I felt like they left the Blackness or the Black aspect of
the
it.
Black experience was left out, I think, in this book.
It was left out in the language. I mean, even though they have quotes in the book, it was left out of the experience. You could tell that it was, I could have taken the story, not know it was a Black, and read it, and without knowing that it was a Black person that I was speaking about.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
You would not, you could take the story out and put it on another page and you would not know it was
Change the cover, you would have known that it was an African American. Except for the fact that she's the first African American to get a medical invention patent. There's not much cultural relevance or reference in the book. It's referenced towards the end, but it's not seen throughout the book.
Right.
The illustrations definitely show Patricia as a Black woman, obviously.
Yeah, the illustrations are...
When it comes to cultural relevance, for me, it's lacking.
Yeah, and the language is lacking.
Yes.
Engagement. I liked it.
Yeah, I was engaged.
Yeah, I thought it was an easy read. It was not too, for nonfiction.
Yeah.
It was a nice nonfiction that kind of felt like it could be a story, a nonfiction story, which made it really nice to read.
I have to say, I give the author credit for that. Because she kept it as a interview type story, it blended between a story of the character of Patricia, but also an interview, so you didn't feel like you were too overwhelmed with just facts and information.
Right.
It was an easier read than other nonfiction books that we know, other nonfiction children's books.
Yeah.
So it was light-spirited.
Yeah, it's light-spirited.
But it was also quick to get through. You didn't feel like you were burdensome with in reading it, and the scenes were changing quickly. I felt you went from her childhood to her teenage high years, then to her medical field, and then what she did while she was in medical field, and then her travels abroad, and then her international work. It's very quick, so it keeps your interest and it keeps you going.
Yeah,
yes.
and the imagery helps with that, and the quotes. I think there's a lot of quotes there that you can stand out that really they did a good. The author did a good job at highlighting those very important, powerful moments in the quoting that she said and the language that she uses. So I would say for the engagement part, definitely a thumbs up.
Yeah,
thumbs up. It could be, the book is written by a white author, so maybe that may be the lack of cultural oomph. That's missing that oomph, But
nevertheless, I think it's a good story, and even a great story that needs to be told regardless.
Yes.
So that's why I would recommend this book.
Yeah,
regardless, I think that her story is so much more important as well. So I won't say don't get the book because the cultural relevance for me is lacking, but definitely the story is so much more important. And you don't really get to hear about historians who have, or figures in our community that has made such a big impact that has changed the world. So I think that this will be a good book.
Yeah. Definitely had vision. Definitely had
I'd
vision.
rather say, like, look into the camera and say, what's your vision?
What's your vision?
What's your vision?
What extended activities? What do you do with this book?
That's a good one. Putting me on the spot. Dun, 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 dun. Name parts of the eye.
Oh God, no. Oh, okay. Extended activity. Talk about vision, things you want to achieve, goals that you want to achieve. I mean, using the word vision. She had a goal that she wanted to achieve. Right? She wanted to restore people's sight. How can you make change in your community? Things like that. I think.
I think that's cool. I think also the importance of eye health could be an extended activity. That's something we don't talk about a lot in school, I guess. I mean, everyone's like, oh, get your glasses and stuff, but everyone's in front of their devices a lot these days. So talking about like maybe taking off the screen, less screen time, and how we can take care of our eyes and have healthy eye health and vision.
Yeah, I like the illustration and the cover of this book. It's very nice. I think it's, the illustrations were on par.
Yeah, I like the colors too. I love how the tones and everything are featured in the book, and the detail that they pay attention to, like parts of the human eye, was pretty cool. Yeah, it wasn't too gory, but it wasn't too childish that you couldn't recognize what they were talking about.
So long story short,
Yes,
this is Patricia's Vision.
Yep, we think the author
Kind
aced it. Yeah. But culturally needs a little more, but otherwise it's accessible and it's engaging.
Yep. So get a copy of that book. This book. We recommend it.